Funny how people unsubscribe from your life without notice. One day they swear forever, the next they're gone. But hey, if you're here, hit subscribe. It's free, unlike loyalty. For 6 years I thought I knew my wife. Let's call her M. We had the kind of relationship people envied, filled with inside jokes, lazy Sunday mornings, and a deep, unspoken trust. Married for 4 years, I never doubted her. Not once. Then the little things started to change. At first they were easy to overlook. She started carrying her phone everywhere, even to the kitchen or while folding clothes. Before, she'd leave it lying around for hours without a care. One day I teased, "What, you in some kind of secret spy ring now?" She laughed it off. "Work's been emailing me a lot," she said. Then came the password. We had always been open with each other. No locks, no secrets. But one day her phone had a passcode. "Just for security," she mumbled when I asked. Something about hackers. I let it go, not wanting to sound paranoid. Then came the calls. She started stepping outside to take them, always with a quick, "Just a friend from work." But why the sudden secrecy? Why was her phone always face down on the table, like she didn't want me to see the screen? I brushed it off. Maybe I was reading too much into things. But then came the day that changed everything. She told me she was meeting a friend for coffee. Normal. No reason to suspect anything. But by sheer coincidence, I was running errands in the same area. I figured I'd surprise her. I wish I hadn't. She wasn't with her friend. She was pacing outside the cafe, phone to her ear, her voice urgent. I stayed in my car, suddenly feeling like an intruder in my own marriage. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but I caught snippets. "It's almost ready. Starting fresh soon." My stomach twisted. When she got home, I asked how her coffee date went, trying to keep my voice light. She spun a whole story about her friend complaining about her boyfriend. It was a lie. I knew it. And then, as if things weren't already strange enough, she casually said, "Hey, we should put all our accounts, passwords, and documents together. Just in case." That was when I knew. She was planning something big. And I needed to be ready. The moment she mentioned consolidating our finances, I knew something was off. The distance, the secrecy, the late-night whispers on the phone, everything pointed to one thing. She was planning to leave me. And she wanted to take me for everything I had. I wasn't about to let that happen. I started digging. Not in an obvious way, but carefully, methodically. Her social media was the first place I checked. She hadn't blocked me, probably thought she didn't need to. She wasn't a frequent poster, but that didn't mean there weren't clues. That's when I noticed him. Jake. He wasn't just some random coworker. He was always there, liking and commenting, never anything overt, but just enough to make me suspicious. Then I found it, a photo he posted at the exact cafe where I had seen her weeks before. The same day I overheard her say, "It's almost ready, and starting fresh soon." My stomach twisted. I kept scrolling. A comment on one of her pictures, "You've got this." And then a selfie, taken inside what looked like her new apartment. I wasn't dealing with just a distant wife. I was dealing with someone planning their escape. And worse, she wasn't doing it alone. I needed answers. Lisa, one of our mutual friends, was my first call. I kept things casual, asking if she'd talked to Em lately, if she had noticed anything odd. Lisa shut me down almost immediately, claiming she didn't know anything. But the way she rushed to end the conversation? That told me otherwise. So I tried Emily. At first, she was hesitant, brushing off my questions. But then, out of nowhere, she called me back. "Look," she said, her voice low. "I can't have this getting back to me." I promised her it wouldn't. Then she said his name. Jake. Apparently, Em had been spending a lot of time with him, more than she'd let on. And from what Emily had overheard, Jake wasn't just some friend. He was the one feeding her advice, guiding her through the divorce, making sure she drained me dry. That was all I needed to hear. The next Saturday, I parked a block away from her apartment, just watching, waiting. Hours passed. Then I saw them, Em and Jake. They weren't holding hands, but the way they leaned in, whispered, laughed, it was obvious. I didn't follow them. I didn't need to. She hadn't just fallen out of love. She had been planning this step by step, making sure I'd be left with nothing. Except she had no idea. I had planned something too. The first mediation session was a spectacle. Her lawyer showed up with a binder so thick, you'd think he was representing a billion-dollar corporation. He rattled off their demands like it was a shopping list. Half the house. Half the money. My assets. My car. Spousal support. I stayed silent. Let them talk. Let them think they had me cornered. Then my attorney slid our own stack of paperwork across the table. That's when everything changed. She thought she had me cornered. She thought she could walk away with half of everything, play the victim, and start her new life with Jake while I was left picking up the pieces. She was wrong. When my lawyer slid the paperwork across the table, her attorney's confidence disappeared almost instantly. He flipped through the pages, his face darkening with every document he read. "What is this?" he asked, his voice tense. "These documents," my lawyer said coolly, "show the transfer of all major assets into a trust under my client's mother's name. The transfers were completed several weeks before the divorce filing. The trust is fully legal and irrevocable." Silence. Her lawyer turned to her, confused and visibly frustrated. "You didn't mention this." She snatched the papers from his hands, flipping through them with wide, panicked eyes. "This can't be real," she whispered, her fingers tracing over the notarized signatures, the dates, the indisputable proof that she had lost before the fight even began. Then she turned to me, her shock morphing into anger. "You planned this," she spat, as if I had committed some unforgivable sin. "You knew I was going to file, and you set this up to screw me over." I didn't say a word. I just watched as she connected the dots. Her lawyer, clearly rattled, mumbled something about needing to rethink their strategy, but everyone in that room knew they had no moves left to play. When we walked out, she pulled me aside, her voice a low hiss. "This isn't over," she said. "You're going to regret this." I looked her dead in the eyes. "I already regret trusting you. That's the only regret I have." That's when things really spiraled. She started calling. Over and over. At first, she played it calm, leaving voicemails with a soft, almost remorseful tone. "I think we just need to talk. I know this got messy, but we can fix it." When I didn't respond, the desperation kicked in. The next messages were all over the place. 1 minute sobbing, the next minute screaming. "You're being so cruel. I made a mistake, okay? Don't do this. You owe me." I ignored it all. My lawyer advised me not to engage, and frankly, I was done playing her games. But she wasn't done playing hers. When she realized I wouldn't answer, she switched tactics. She started spinning stories, wild, inconsistent lies, trying to control the narrative. Mutual friends told me she was claiming the entire divorce was a prank. Yes, a prank. But when people started asking logical questions, like, "Why would you hire a lawyer and file legal paperwork for a prank?" she pivoted again. Now she claimed it was all a test. "A test of our marriage," she told people. And he failed. Instead of fighting for us, he betrayed me. Some people bought it. Others weren't so sure. Even her own brother lashed out at me, saying, "You should have just talked it out instead of doing something so drastic." I didn't bother defending myself. I knew the truth would come out soon enough. And it did. A few weeks after the mediation, I got a message from a guy named Matt. We weren't particularly close, but he had something I needed to see. When we met, he pulled out his phone and showed me a string of text messages. From her. To Jake. My stomach dropped. "How did you get these?" I asked, scrolling through the messages in disbelief. Matt explained that he and Jake shared a mutual friend who had overheard way too much. This friend had been uncomfortable with how smug Jake was acting, boasting about how he was helping her secure her future. When that friend realized what securing her future really meant, bleeding me dry, he took screenshots and passed them along to Matt, hoping I'd see them. And what I saw made my blood run cold. Her messages weren't emotional outbursts or regrets. They were calculated. "Once the settlement's done, we'll have everything we need. I just need him to agree to the terms." And Jake? He was coaching her through the entire thing. "Don't back down. Make him feel guilty if you have to. He owes you. We'll start fresh once you've got the money." I sat there reading those words over and over. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't an emotional reaction to a failing marriage. This was premeditated. I looked up at Matt, exhaling slowly. "Thank you," I said. "You have no idea how much this means." He shook his head. "You don't deserve this, man." And he was right. But she was about to get exactly what she did deserve. The moment those texts started circulating among our mutual friends, everything changed. Matt shared them with a few people, and from there they spread like wildfire. People who had once defended her, who had believed her twisted versions of events, suddenly saw the truth for what it was. The carefully crafted image she had built, the victim, the betrayed wife, collapsed under the weight of cold, undeniable evidence. Even those closest to her started backing away. By the time the divorce was finalized, she had nothing but her personal belongings. Her lawyer quietly dropped every claim she had made when he realized there was no legal ground to stand on. All of her bold demands, half the house, my money, my assets, crumbled under the weight of the documents I had prepared. The trust one had established was unbreakable. And Jake? He vanished the moment things went south. I wouldn't be surprised if he had been using her the same way she tried to use me. He had fed her fantasies of independence, of a brand new life funded by my hard-earned savings. But the moment she lost her grip on my finances, he was gone. No more support. No more whispered reassurances. Without Jake in her corner, her confidence shattered. The calls and texts kept coming, but they changed. They weren't angry anymore. They were desperate. Can we just talk? Please. I'll do anything to fix this. Then another voicemail. You don't have to forgive me, but can't we just settle this and move on? I'll drop everything if you just talk to me. But I didn't respond. I couldn't respond. It was too late. Too much damage had been done. Even her own family started pulling away. One day her brother messaged me out of the blue. I didn't know what she was doing to you. I'm sorry I ever took her word for it. As for me, I walked away with my house, my savings, and, more importantly, something I hadn't felt in a long time. My mother, as always, was my rock. She showed up with buckets of paint and a long list of ideas to help me reclaim my space. Every brushstroke, every change I made to the house, felt like wiping away the past and stepping into something new. For the first time in years, my life was mine again. No more manipulation. No more second-guessing every little interaction. No more betrayal. Just peace. Does this story resonate with you? Have you ever experienced something similar? Let us know in the comments and tell us which country you're watching from. And remember, there's always a lesson to be learned. The lesson: always protect yourself. Love is beautiful, but trust should never come at the cost of your well-being. If someone is willing to manipulate you, they don't deserve you. If you enjoyed this story, like, share, and subscribe for more real-life stories that will keep you thinking. See you in the next one.